Now, what we'll do is we want to square this up into the machine on the pad. That's good. Now we have nice friendly friction. We can make any minute adjustments. You want to try to, if you can see what I'm doing here, lift this up. And you can see the relationship of the side to the slat. Pull the pattern against the side you're working on. You can measure, I use my fingers, one joint, one joint. All right? So what I'm going to do here, I know my side pattern here is wider than I really need. When we start moving this around and running the ram, it's going to move the wood around a little bit. So I always try to give this about a half of an inch below the pattern. See that? You can see the side sets in there reasonably squared. This turns to full. Doesn't matter what your control is. At this point, you want to throw heat in there. I have a thermometer here somewhere. I'm going to place a thermometer in here. And I'm not worried about this. It should take, somebody take a look at time, because we should be totally done in about 4 minutes. It doesn't take long at all.
Where do you get a thermometer like that? Is that just some Harbor Freight?
Walmart.
Yeah.
Is your thermometer
Cooking section of the grocery store has.
Home housewares.
Yeah.
Most cooking thermometers will work. The technical term is a candy thermometer.
Or meat thermometers will work.
It needs to go to 392 degrees.
500 degrees. Most meat thermometers
500
go to
degrees
500.
is perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, I just turned it on. Watch the time. You can take your spring, put the spring into that. Hold down so I don't shoot it. Same thing there. Spring going down. Hold down. We got to do it on both sides.
Is the thermometer under the
The thermometer is under the blanket on top of the steel. Right here.
You don't, John, you don't use a support bar at the waist.
Don't need it.
You don't need it?
You don't need it.
Even for the higher figured wood, you figure it?
You don't need it.
Okay.
That support bar is actually a locator bar. The Fox design?
Yeah.
That's actually a locator bar to keep it from, when you do a cutaway, if that wasn't there, you just push the pattern right out of the machine.
Yeah, right, okay.
Okay, that little bit of time, we're at 185 degrees. When that hits 250 degrees, I want you to pull the hole down, back towards you. What you want to do, okay, no, when it hits 250, we're at 227. You let the springs do the work. You don't, all you're doing is pulling this down. The springs want to stay in contact with your blanket. There you go, start bending.
So you do the ends first and then the middle?
I do the ends first and then the middle.
All the way down?
All the way down. All the way down, nice and slow. Here, cooking, let the springs hold it. Here, you're fighting it, let the springs work. There you go. And swoosh.
What was your temperature that you found it?
Now, we started at 250. Yeah, that's good. Now, I'm going to check underneath here. I want this to be damp, and it still is. Okay, so now you do the same thing to the front. Go ahead, hold it. You can hear it sizzling?
Mm-hmm.
Don't pull the springs, just walk it down. Right like that, right like that. Right like that. Right like that. Now, watch what happens when you start driving the waist down. You'll actually see that pattern because the two ends are now locked up. He's going to pull that in. That puts the wood under tension, and that literally will suck that right onto that pattern. And that will keep going. Don't stop till you hit the bottom.
John, you're putting a lot of stress on that heat pad.
Won't hurt it. I have two in my shop that are 4 years old. I usually wear the plugs out before I wear the blanket out.
Is it a watt load?
No, ProTherm. I get these custom made. We are now at 323 degrees. Turn that to variable. And then turn this to right about 1/3 of the, right there. That will hold that temperature now at approximately 220 to 256 degrees. I will continue to run a 15-minute cycle, basically now at this point to dry the wood.
Do you start your cycle now or when you started the band?
Can somebody watch your time? How long did it take?
About 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
4 minutes. Most problems with bending the first time are people will go too fast or they go too slow. If you let the wood dry out, at that point, the wood cells become case hardened, and it's like untying a pretzel. Now, there are some woods that will bend dry. Maple and mahogany tend to like a little less water. Rosewoods, if they're straight grain, they'll bend easy. Like I said, 270 to 375 degrees will bend almost anything. The Duke is probably one that I would say needs a little bit more heat.
400 for the Duke?
I all but set it in fire. I mean, I turn that thing to full and I just keep it damp and let that steam.
Okay.
The important thing is when you're running your hold down, you want the point of force right here. You do not want to fulcrum the wood. You don't want this. You want it to be right here and working it down. Anybody here ever bend by a pipe?
Yeah.
Okay. When you go to bend and you're going like this, how often have you? And then did anybody go to the little, have the metal bar on top? You know, little metal slat?
Yeah, I tried it, I didn't like it.
Did that not make it easier?
Yeah.
Okay, that has to do with just your bending moment in the wood. When you're right here, you're pressing. When you're out here, you get a shear force, and that will give you the most problem.
Did you turn it down or leave it up?
Okay, once we got it into the pattern, once we're on the pattern, I will generally run the heat up to about 370 degrees. I want it to run up to I want it to run to 370 degrees. That's it. At that point, I will turn it to variable. On these little controllers, right about here, will set you between a 220 to 260 degree range. And basically at this point, we're just cooking off the water. I want to dry it out. I want to cool it down. If you pull that out, and we are going to pull it out when it's warm, because people who've never bent to try to do this. If you pull it out while it's warm, I'm sure Linda can tell you, it's probably going to lose its shape. I mean, it does not hold.
You ever use parchment paper around your wood to, keep your slats clean?
I like craft paper. I use craft paper. I found that this is a tempered stainless. I forget the alloy. It's either a 302 or a 302 or a 303 alloy again. It's tempered. It's not ever going to be as hard as spring steel. All right, but that won't happen. But what I like about this, it doesn't stain the wood. Anybody here bend with spring steel? Rust?
Yeah, just a bit.
Staining?
Yeah.
But I use the paper and aluminum foil.
Right. You need a barrier.
Yeah,
You don't need a barrier with stainless.
What gauge of stainless?
This is actually a 15 thousandths thick.
Okay.
This is right there. You are. It's 241 degrees. I normally let this sit for 15 minutes and we'll start over. I'm just going to turn it off now because I want somebody else to try it. Did you have a problem with this?
Not at all.
Okay, but I'll demonstrate here with this. When I have a set that I'm bending, and I pull it out of the machine, while I'm waiting for the other set to get bent, I will take my mold. I will put that in the mold, and then I'll just lay it down. Now this one's already trimmed, but with them being long, the weight of the mold will actually hold this up. That way it'll stay in shape till you get the other one mold, then you can trim it, and we'll show that probably this afternoon, how to trim, set up a mold, and get it ready for building. So you can see that's how you can take a slide out. And even though it's going to be a little cool, you can see it's starting to bend back already. There's no cracks. There is a little bit of, that's because I did not clean the slats. There's some oil on there.
You don't have to ask me twice.
And if you bend a set, if you make two lefts, has anybody ever made two left slides? If you rob your wife's steam iron, you can actually iron them flat and rebend them. You can do it maybe 2 times. The third time, they crack. And don't ask me how I know.